Welcome back to the Teachers AI Cafe. I'm Kane, teacher helping fellow teachers win back some time, reduce some mental load, and keep work-life balance using some practical AI workflows. Today we're going to look at GUIDE. GUIDE, the acronym GUIDE, is goal, understanding, information, direction. Aligns the model with what you intend before you actually start writing, gives you clarity in getting the ideas down to start with. So think of GUIDE as your pre-flight checklist. Goal declares the objective in one line. Understanding locks shared assumptions so the model doesn't helpfully change the constraints. Information, it front loads the facts, the criteria, policies, and prior knowledge to prevent guessing. The direction names the exact container and sections so the output arrives copy ready. Use GUIDE strips out the back and forth edits, is especially strong when accuracy constraints or safety matters, things like assessments, labs, procedures, parents' communications. I could go far as to say that things like the maths and the sciences would actually really like the GUIDE type format in terms of their learning area. So GUIDE minimizes drift and hallucinations by stating assumptions up front. It keeps assumptions and procedures faithful to the originals, and it produces containers, checklists, timelines, tables that lower cognitive load and speed the actual process in your classroom or in your preparation. Now, weaknesses and pitfalls with it. If your goal is vague, GUIDE feels rigid, and to write a one-sentence prompt may be not what you're after. So if you undisplay information, the model will guess, paste the brief, criteria, safety notes, and prior knowledge into there. It needs that clarity. If direction is loose, make it good. You'll need to add some generic text, name sections, and put the limits in. GUIDE isn't a substitute for race. We need a pedagogy and timing, nor prompt when tone or persona are the priority. Where GUIDE fits in, I think, is when precision and fidelity to the given information are non-negotiable. Assessment briefs, practical write-up, SOPs or standard operating procedures, safety notes, and parent communications. A time example of this was convert this official task sheet into a one-page student handout. Keep the meaning the same, simplify the language, and add a checklist and timeline. So you're being precise in what you want to do. Whereas you look at other ones such as RACE, which is an end-to-end lesson architecture, you can start off vague and then build on top of that. APE, which is the fastest, very quick task clarity. Tone with format, persona, control is important, like in the humanities. Reason and clear, which is very structured reasoning. So what would an assessment prompt look like? So if we look at an assessment brief to a student-friendly handout, convert this assessment brief into a student-friendly handout that clarifies what to do and how to succeed. Understanding, you'll keep the meaning the same while simplifying the words for, say, a Year 8 class. No content changes unless I supply them. Information. Assessment brief text is here. Then you copy and paste that in there, obviously. Criteria focus, argument, clarity, evidence, integration, correct terminology. In my case, Australian curriculum links, and then put the codes in there. Directions produce a 1 A4 page with a task summary, 3 to 4 lines. Success criteria, student-friendly bullets. Do and don't lists, bullet points to give them a guide of what to do. Because we all get those questions, don't we? A timeline with checkpoints for them to tick off and work through. And a mini checklist and Australian English, no grades or marks mentioned with that. And that'll then take an assessment task and create a briefing sheet for your students to go through to help you understand it and hopefully cover all those questions that you often get when you hand out a task that are often the same from multiple students. A second example in science, maybe technologies, is a practical investigation planner. The goal, plan a safe step-by-step practical investigation for Year 9 students on topic aligned to lab routines. Understanding students are mixed ability. 2 English as a second language learners. Equipment must be realistic to a standard school lab, and safety notes are mandatory. Here you could actually add in the equipment the students are actually going to use to help clarify it. Information, prior knowledge, put it in dot points. Available equipment, like provide that list. Lab time, 55 minutes. School policies, things like eye protection. Teacher does demo for heat sources only. Direction, return, aim, 1 sentence. Variables, tables, materials, procedure. Numbered steps in there in the procedure. Safety, 5 bullet points to highlight them, make them bold. Data table template for the students to then know how they need to reproduce the data that comes out of the experiment. And 3 reflection questions on the process, error, and improvement, and keep it to a single A4 page using Australian English. As you see with their prompts, they're very concise and they're very good if you know exactly what you actually want to achieve with it, or you're working with an existing source. So wrapping this one up, guide is don't miss anything type of checklist for high stakes clarity. That's what I think. Mathematics, computer science, the sciences themselves, like traditional sciences, areas which this prompt would actually be of most benefit in terms of the way people approach their writing and the way they like to interact with data. So I'd like to thank you for listening to this episode, and I hope you found useful and things you can use straight away. The cheat sheet for this is on the Facebook group. Get in there, give me some feedback, how can I improve these podcasts. Share it with your colleagues that are interested in AI. Until then, keep up the good work, and I'll talk to you next time.